Feeling safe and at ease when you're learning a new skill is essential. For that reason, holding and support techniques are really crucial when teaching anyone swimming and water safety skills, whether your students are infants, toddlers, school-age children, or adults.
Your primary goal is to build up your students' trust in whomever is holding or supporting them, so that ultimately they will have the confidence to venture forth on their own.
Now, the techniques you use will depend on the skill you're teaching, as well as the size, the swimming ability, and the comfort level of your students.
With your youngest students, infants and toddlers, you'll be teaching the actual holding and support techniques to their parents or caregivers.
We're going to progress from those techniques demonstrating the most secure holds and support to those showing the least as your students progress in ability. Now keep in mind, however, that no matter what technique you use, hand and arm placement will vary as students get bigger physically and their skills advance. These first positions work really well for getting a beginning student to adjust to the water, blow bubbles, and enter and exit the water.
So let's start with the hip straddle. This is going to be a familiar position to anyone who's ever carried a little child around on their hip, which makes the hip straddle a great holding position to help an infant or young child get used to the water.
The adult is standing in water with the child in a vertical position, straddling the adult's hip. See how his arm supports the child's back by reaching around the child to hold the upper thigh? You can use your other hand to hold the child's hand.
Next, take a look at the chin support position. The instructor or parent is standing in shoulder level water and the child is in a prone position, with the water at chin level. Just like the hip straddle, you can use this holding technique with those students needing the most support. The adult holds the child under the upper chest and shoulders, and the child's chin rests on the heels of the adult's palms to prevent the face from accidentally submerging.
Now with the hug position, you or a parent stands in shoulder level water. The child is in a prone position with the water at upper chest level. The child's head rests on the adult's shoulder, with the arms positioned loosely over the adult's shoulders. See how the legs are extended with support of the thighs and knees from underneath?
The hip support on front is most effective with toddlers and preschoolers. The adult stands in shoulder level water with the child in a prone position, with the water at upper chest level. Notice how the adult's arms are extended to support the child at the hip and abdomen? The child's shoulders rest on the adult's forearm.
Now besides water adjustment, these next holding and support positions are good for students who are ready to experience the front kick, front glide, underwater exploration, and drafting. With the shoulder support, stand in shoulder level water with the student in a prone position, water at upper chest level. Support the student under the armpits. You can adapt this position for an adult student by having them place their hands on your shoulders and then you support their upper arms.
When students are beginning to experience moving their arms in the water, you can support them with the arm stroke position. Brace against the side of the pool by kneeling in shallow water or sitting on the stairs with the water at shoulder level. Balance the child on one knee and guide both arms in an alternating underwater paddling motion. For less secure children, you can encircle their bodies to increase their comfort level.
The side support is a good technique for practicing any combined arm and leg action. Stand in waist or shoulder level water with the child facing the same direction in a prone position in water at chin or neck level. Grasp the child from behind. See how your arm that crosses the child's back can rest against the buttocks to keep the legs submerged? To vary this position, place the arm that crossed the child's body palm side up on the child's chest. Then use your other arm to support the child.
You know, many of these holding and support techniques can be augmented or varied with flotation devices. But keep in mind that the use of a flotation device is never a substitute for having your students practice swimming on their own, and should only be used with your constant supervision.
Another thing, have your equipment ready and available before you start your class, like your kickboards. Kickboards are good support devices for learning kicking on front, rhythmic breathing on front, and rotary breathing. Have your swimmers stand in hip or chest level water. Place the kickboard under their forearms so they can grasp the edge of the kickboards with their hands. The student pushes off and maintains a prone position. It really doesn't matter if their faces are in or out of the water, but you need to remain within arm's reach if they need additional stabilization.
Barbells are also useful for practicing floating and kicking on the front. Have your student place the barbell under their armpits or extend it out in front as they would a kickboard. You can also have your students use the pool wall, bottom of a shallow area, step or ladder for support.
Up, out, together, and glide.
For example, they can stand facing the pool wall in chest or shoulder level water and then bracket themselves with one hand grasping the deck or gutter and the palm of the other hand against the wall. This is great support for practicing kicking on front and rhythmic and rotary breathing.
There are several holding and support techniques to use when students are first experiencing back positions in the water. Now again, keep in mind that placement of your hands and arms will vary depending on the child's physical size and comfort level. Let's start with the cuddle position that offers great support for infants and toddlers when they're kicking on their backs or doing the back glide or float. The adult is standing in chest or shoulder level water with the child on its back. The back of the child's head rests on the adult's shoulder with the cheek or side of the head touching the adult's cheek. The adult places one hand on the child's chest and the other under the waist or lower back to bring the child to a more horizontal position. If your youngster is floating naturally in a horizontal position, you can offer support by simply grasping the child's chest with both hands.
Now let's move on to the hip support and back position, which is good for teaching the kick and back float and glide. You or a parent start by standing or kneeling in shoulder level water. You extend your arms and support the child at the hip with the child's head resting on your forearm or chest.
The back support position works well for older students from preschoolers to adults when you're teaching the back float, glide, and kick. Stand in shoulder level water. Move back with the student in the back support position. Support the back of the student's head with one hand and position your other hand in the middle of the student's back for stabilization. Once again, the exact positioning of your hand on the back is going to vary depending on the student's weight and comfort level.
There's also a variation on this technique, where the person supporting the student places one hand in the middle of the back and the other at the chin or lower jaw. Now don't forget that flotation devices are also useful with these back positions. For example, using a kickboard is a good way for preschoolers, school-age children, or adults to practice the back float and kicking on their backs. Have your students stand in chest or shoulder level water. They place the kickboard against their chest and hold it in place. Then they push off the bottom and maintain a back position.
A variation of this is to have your students grasp the sides of the kickboard and extend their arms overhead. Then they push off in the same manner.
Barbells can also be used for practicing the back float and kick. Have your students place the barbell across their torso. Then they push off from the bottom, maintaining their back position.
Very good. All right. You did it. Good job. Just keep moving.
Understanding when and how you use holding and support techniques will get your students off to a great start, no matter what their age.